It's the Digital Babble with your host, Flipper. Colorful commentary on your photography. Seen on fingerlakes1.com.
Hey everybody, it's me, Flipper, here on the Digital Babble, where we talk about photography and Photoshop, and we just try to explain things and just have fun with it, because that's really what photography is about, is art and having fun. And enjoying it and enjoying the company of other people. And this week is great because that's what I did. This last week was I enjoyed the company of a friend of mine, and she allowed me to use her as my guinea pig. So I've got some shots of her, and we did like a quick portrait session. And this week what we're going to be talking about is portrait mode on most cameras. Most point and shoots, most SLRs have a portrait mode, or where it's kind of automatic. The camera does all the settings for you, but it tries to think in terms of what's best for a portrait. So in that respect, let's flop right over. We're going to get going right quick here. I got to find the right button. Hey, there we go. I got the right button. And right here, where the arrow's pointing is where the portrait mode sits. It's a little portrait person, like a female with a sun hat on. It's kind of been the universal symbol, at least in the Canon realm and the Nikon realm, for a portrait. Now, some cameras have it right on the dial. I'm going to just flip over and show it right here. Up at the top of the camera, like this is a Nikon, right at the top, the mode dial is where you would find that symbol. So let me pull that back up. That wonderful old hatted lady symbol, which stands for portrait. And this is a fully automatic mode, which automatically sets your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed on top of your color balance, which we haven't really discussed yet, but it does set all those different settings for you in an ideal scenario to best portray the subject that you're trying to isolate in front of the camera. And that's kind of what the portrait mode does, is it isolates, attempts to lower the aperture and isolate the subject, at least in the depth of field, and then also sets a really nice color tone to warm up the skin tones just a touch, because a lot of times the full auto is either really warm or really cool in color temperatures. And what'll happen is that the skin will either get really white or really orange. So the portrait mode tries to find the happy medium there by taking the shot. Whether you use flash or you don't use flash, it tries to find that happy medium. So in portrait mode, there's a few other things it tries to do. It attempts to set your flash in a way where it does a nice fill flash. In other words, it's not an overpowering flash, or it tries not to be an overpowering flash, but depending on your flash and where it's located on the camera will depend on your results. You'll see in the next photos here, the examples that I have, you'll notice that I have a lot of harsh shadows in here. I literally took my point and shoot, set it to portrait and full auto, and gave some comparison shots between this was done in full auto, didn't move much, this was done in portrait mode. And then that is what we're going to see here in just a minute. And the thing with portrait mode is that it tries to do the flash in a way that it's not overpowering, but it fills the portrait and it lights that subject, or it powers it up just to hit that subject, but forget about the background. In full auto mode, it tries to actually power the flash for the entire scene. So that is something to keep in mind, especially if you're working with your flash and you're just like, I really don't like the way this is coming out. It's really harsh, or it's really off, or whatever. Flip it over to portrait mode, and you might actually find that the results are better. You might find that they're worse, but most of the time you'll find that it's better, especially if you're using the on-camera flash. On-camera flash is kind of like, you'll see in future shows that the way I describe the on-camera flash is really not a good flash to use. Really, you want to get the flash off the camera or get the light coming from a different direction using a scoop or a reflector or some other light modifier. But, you know, in this scenario, we're just demonstrating the full auto and the portrait mode and the comparison between the two. So, again, on a camera, it's up on the mode dial, or if you have a point and shoot that has a menu-driven system, you're going to flip through the menu and find the little portrait of the lady with the hat, and that's your portrait mode. The other thing that, portrait mode really does, and it's kind of an interesting thing that it does in a lot of the cameras, is that the logic behind the focusing inside the camera is very picky, we'll say. When you set it to the portrait mode, it actually tries to find the front of the face. It's actually trying to find the nose. That way, the shallow depth of field will give you the nose nice and tack sharp, and then the eyes, but then everything else kind of starts fading out into a blur. And that's one of the things, like on the Canon PowerShot G12, the G15, the portrait mode is very neat for taking a low shallow shot, versus the auto mode might give you too much depth of field. It might get your subject and your background in perfect focus. So depending on what you're looking for artistically, depends on full auto or portrait. But the portrait mode really does a really good job of getting that focus down right, especially if the subject is the first thing you focus on. So let's get to some examples here. So here we have Tiffany, and she was a wonderful subject. I really enjoyed working with her. Very quick working with her. We did all the shots that you'll see here tonight, and the ones that I'm going to work on in Photoshop, all within, I think, a total of 15 minutes. And it really was just a quick portrait session just to get some shots. I literally used the point and shoot just to get the shots in, out, and done. They're all 10 megapixels to start with. I shrunk them down for the show because I got to get it into video. And this is what we got, okay? So what'll be on the left will be full auto, and what'll be on the right will be the portrait mode. And you can see the subtle differences in the different kind of lighting and color temperature, and just how the whole shot kind of played out. So really looking through like this first photo, and pardon me as I look down here, this first photo was one of our last shots that we took of the day. No, which was 15 minutes, so I guess you can't call it a day now, can we? But the end of the shoot was, this was one of the last shots that I did. And I started off with a full auto shot, which is on the left. You'll notice the background's kind of green. The stairs kind of have a more of a distinct line. Like the contrast is not quite there, but they're very distinct, though. You'll also see here with the eyes are sharp, but the skin tone is kind of orangish. And depending on your monitor, depending on how you're looking at this, the background went green, her skin tones went kind of orange. Her hair color, which is supposed to be jet black, took on some of the ambient light, which is fluorescent, and it did get a little bit more orange there. So that was on the left. Now, on the right, what happened was the camera thought about it and said, I don't care about the background, I care about the subject. And I want to make sure that the skin tones are fairly close to being right. When the shot was fired, the flash fired nice and soft as it could, even though it gave me a harsh shadow right around her head, her hairline, and her head, and her earring there. You can see the harsh shadow. But really, by the end of the day, it really didn't come out that bad because the subject is isolated, shallow depth of field, her skin's nice and sharp, her smile's nice and sharp, her eyes are nice and sharp. And on top of that, the colors came out pretty darn close. I mean, you won't see the color shift too much like in the tank top or the overthrow sweater. You might see a little bit of it in the jeans, but really where you see the big change in color temperature is the face, the cheeks, the skin tones, and then the background. The background really took a dramatic change from being a greenish color to kind of a grayish color. And it really made a little bit more sense in a color perspective and in a portrait perspective. Most times when you're shooting a portrait, you really don't care about the background too much, per se. I mean, you want to have a nice background. I mean, we'll talk about professional portraits later on in other shows. But for being just like a quick portrait, you can get some really neat shots just by posing something up, taking your point and shoot, put it on portrait, and fire away. If you're an artist, if you're a painter, a drawer, let's see, what else can you do? Pastels and maybe even digital painting in Photoshop, which you can do. Taking a picture of your subject is a really nice way of getting the subject, getting them out of the studio, or letting them go so they don't have to sit there all the time, and gives you an opportunity to take that photo and study it, figure out how you want to draw it, how you want it to look, what the end result's going to be. So what is so good about portrait mode? Okay, it's really four things. Isolates the subject, it warms the skin tones to look more attractive or natural, focuses the eyes by focusing the first part of the focus is right on the nose, keeps the shallow depth of field very shallow, and tries to focus that first 6 inches to a foot in on the face. It really makes it really good portrait by having the eyes tack sharp. Tack sharp eyes make a portrait, and you'll see in a couple of examples a little bit. Actually, I think one of the Photoshop pictures, I really didn't get the eyes very good, and I really should have done it again. But we were booking it. We were doing good. Well, the last thing that it tries to do is it tries to set the flash to the subject. So making sure that the subject is well lit. Sometimes this means it'll get a gentler flash or a gentle flash, make it more soft, more appealing, less harsh. Sometimes, like in this first example, it made it a touch harsher for the shadow, but made her look just fine. So that's our first example here. One of the bad things, some of the bad things with portrait mode or any type of full auto mode is that it's still a full auto mode and the camera's making the decisions for you. You're not really thinking through the shot. You're not really taking and looking at the shot as a whole as you. You're really saying, here, camera, you tell me what to do. So I'm one of those kind of control freaks when it comes to cameras and computers and whatever. I want control. I want to know what's going on. I want to understand it. I just, like driving, I'm rarely a passenger. I'm usually the driver. Same concept here. I really do like having more control. And portrait mode is not one of my favorite friends. I might shoot a couple shots on portrait mode to get an idea where my settings should probably be. And then I'll flip over to manual and start tweaking and making it my shot, making it the way I want it. So, and again, any of these modes are great for, starting points. Sometimes they're great just to get the shot that you're looking for, depending on what you're looking for. And then if you want to start experimenting and learning more about aperture and shutter and ISO and color temperature, you can always go into the manual mode and start tweaking those settings and see what your results are. One of the best things I can tell you when you are doing something like that is keep either a voice recorder or a notepad with you, just so that you can jot down some notes that photo 1 was full auto, photo 2 was this setting, photo 3 was this setting. Even though it stores it in the photo as digital information, so you know what the shutter speed, the ISO, and the aperture are, it does make some weird modifications here. Say hi, Oscar. Bye, Oscar. Does make some modifications sometimes, and sometimes you just lose the photo. So it is kind of nice to keep that little bit of a diary, just so you have it and really kind of document what you've done. That way, when you go back and you look at them, you go, "Oh, that's right, that's what I did." I don't know how many times when I was first learning the basics of photography, I would lose myself in the shot, and I would forget what I had done. I would forget, how did I put the tripod up? How did I have what was my shutter speed? What was my ISO? Then I go back and I forget what shot was which in the day. Because I might not look for a set of photos for a couple days. You never know. It might be a week, a month. If you're on vacation for a week, you might not look at those photos for a month or two. And that's the idea of keeping that little bit of a diary, especially if you're looking to get better at it, and also documenting so that you can figure out how you shoot and how you get better shots with your settings in your camera. So another thing that can be bad about any of the full auto modes, but especially portrait, you can get a bad meter reading or a poor meter reading that could throw off the actual color temperature or the actual exposure. I don't know how many times I've pulled up with full auto or portrait mode shot, and I'm looking at the picture going, I didn't see that. What happened? And you just you look at the camera and you're like, stupid camera, and you just want to, figure out why, and that's one thing to be aware of, is that it can get a bad meter reading, and it can set something that might not be quite right for your camera. Focusing is also another weird kind of thing with portrait mode. Because it does aperture priority and it's trying to keep that shallow depth of field, it might autofocus in the wrong spot. And if it does autofocus in the wrong spot, you can really get a blurry picture, very blurry. You're like, hey, I focused on that subject and it didn't get it. And you're like, oh, what the heck, you know? It's something to be aware of. That's why you should always take multiple shots with the same settings just to make sure that you get the focusing proper, you know, so hopefully you're getting the shot that you were looking at. So let's get another example here up on screen. Here's Tiffany again. Now this is where the opposite played more true than the latter. The full auto mode gave me a much more pleasing photo out of the gate than the full the portrait mode, and it's very possible that can happen. So the full auto is on the left, the portrait mode is on the right. Notice the flash is just a touch harsh. You can see that she's got a few little marks here in the cheek, on the lip, in the chin. The shadow starts to fall off very sharply. It draws the eye. It just was kind of not quite a good flash shot. It was just too harsh for portrait mode. What did it do really right though? The focusing was dead on in this picture. Her eyes were dead sharp. The full auto gave me a little bit too much depth of field. Her face was just a touch more soft. Again, the color temperature here is a little bit off. The color temperature in the full auto is a little green. The color temperature in the portrait one is more close to the natural skin tones, which was, you know, and you see in the background it's less green. It's a little more bluish, grayish, like it's supposed to be. So right there really shows you a good example where the opposite could possibly be true, because you're looking at the photo and going, you know, I really like that full auto mode. That really looked good. And you're right, it does look good. This is one of the examples where I think the full auto did much better than the portrait mode. You can see here too, you know, here's a couple of really neat things on this photo that I really liked. You know, besides Tiffany having just this charismatic kind of just get in front of the camera, shoot, and you could just shoot her. I could have kept going, just hours. Put her in any situation and she'll just sit there and smile and give you a different look, and bang, and she's ready to go, you know, and just fire away and, hey, give me this. Okay, give me that. Okay. And she's really great about it. And that's one of the things that's really neat, because if you get a good person or a good subject, where they will work with you, especially, you know, when your kids are, you know, really young, you got to really try to get the shot, no matter how it appears to you. You know, you're trying to get that shot no matter what. Sometimes you can set it up. I've seen a lot of portrait photographers that do babies and small children, toddlers. You employ kind of the run and gun thought process. Some people I've seen actually use a planned attack. Two parents and a photographer going at it, trying to get the kid to do exactly what you want to do. A little bit older subjects sometimes really can play a lot better with the camera, especially if you have subjects that are not apprehensive about having their photo taken. I don't know how many times I've been doing a wedding or doing a senior portrait or something, and you could just tell the subject just was not happy about having the camera pointed at him. Now, the nice thing is that what I've learned, and this is a great tip for you too, if you're using a big SLR with a big lens, that sometimes can be very intimidating to anybody. I don't care who you are. I mean, if somebody was shoving a big lens in my face, I'd probably be like, hey, get out of here, you know? But if it's, you know, maybe a point and shoot, a smaller camera, and you can still get pretty good quality, like with a G12 or a G15 from Canon, or I can't remember if it's a Nikon X100 or one of the point and shoots from Nikon that actually gives you a little bit more control and has more substance to it. Those cameras will give you professional quality just like an SLR, but you don't have to have the change of lens, and it's not as big. It's not as, we'll say, intruding into your personal space. And that's one of the things about Nice that I love, absolutely love about point and shoots, is that if you're having a hard time with a subject, you just really can't get the subject to do what you want to do, Like cats. Cats are an amazing animal to try to photograph because they're a challenge unless you got a ham. Like we got a ham. You saw him earlier in this show. His name's Oscar. He wants to be on camera, whether it's on the show or, you know, you pull up the camera to take a photo of one of the other kitties and he just darts right in. Hey, I'm here, you know. He's very good about that. But the other cats are very challenging because you're kind of working with them and you're like, okay, and you pull up your camera. Now you pull up the big camera, everybody gets nervous and runs. You pull up the point and shoot, and 3/4 of the time they don't even know that they're getting their photo taken, which is, you know, really neat. So, so working with a subject that's very easy to work with. Hey, and if you really don't want to work with real people, you can always go to an art supply store and buy Mr. Doll here, Mr. Mannequin. He has been my friend to test out lighting for I don't know how many times. Yes, I play with dolls every once in a while. Say hi, doll. Hi, you know. So, you know, and just to test out the lighting, you know, and see how you want to take a shot before you actually get there. So that's a really great way of doing it too with inanimate objects like a doll or a Star Wars figure or, you know, maybe you got Barbies. I don't know, whatever. But it's great to try your shots before you get out in the field and do your shots. So it's kind of neat just to play with that too. So we got one more example here, I think. Maybe two. One more. All right, here's another shot of Miss Tiffany here. Kind of laying out a little bit, kind of doing the whole high school senior pose here, you know, where you kind of put one leg up and, hey, how you doing? Here I am. You'll notice the full auto shot on the left is really, really orange. You can see that the lighting went green, the background went green, and her face and her skin tones went very orangish, very unnatural colors. It just is not, I mean, especially with the flash firing. Now, do I like the way the flash fired in this picture? Absolutely. The full auto did a lot better job of firing the flash. But it didn't do a good job of two things. One, focusing. It ended up focusing on the front of her arm, the closest arm to the camera. And by the time it got to her chin and her nose and her eyes, it started to get soft. Now, you might not be able to see it on screen, but that's exactly what happened when I was looking at the photo. The one on the right, it was all done in portrait mode. The flash fired for the subject, not for the whole scene. Lit her very brightly, nicely. Modified the color temperature, made her skin tones look good. The jeans kind of came out a little too bright. I didn't care for that. A little Photoshop magic could, you know, fix that up. But really, all in all, nice quick shot. Boom, here it is. Probably needed to change the pose just a touch, but really, there's a great example between full auto and your portrait mode. So full auto is on the left, portrait mode's on the right. So now we've gone through the whole thing with full auto last week. This week we're doing the portrait mode. We're kind of giving you the whole rundown of portrait mode and what it's good for. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, one of my favorite things to do, especially when I was first beginning, was I had a Canon Rebel with a 28 to 300 millimeter lens on it. One of my favorite shots to do, and you can even do this on your point and shoots if you got enough light to do it. Go outside on a sunny day, it doesn't matter. Okay, you put the subject over yonder, okay, and you get over yonder. And what you do is you zoom all the way in. So if you got a 300 millimeter lens, you're all the way in at 300 millimeter. You open the aperture all the way up. If you're doing this with a point and shoot, put it on portrait mode because it'll do it automatically for you. Okay, but you want to zoom all the way out and then move your body, because that's one of the things as photographers sometimes we forget, is we get lazy because we got a zoom lens. We can reach out and touch somebody and no big deal, you know. Really the big thing about photography, especially discovering some really neat things about photography, is get up, get moving, move, change your point of view, shoot low, shoot high, shoot from the side, shoot from behind your back. Well, really not that last one, but, you know, definitely take a different perspective on where you're shooting, how you're shooting. And one of the biggest things I've always found is, like I said, getting further away from the subject can be a good thing, especially when you're trying to do a very soft portrait. And what this will do is by zooming all the way out, rack, in other words, rack, that's the term, rack your lens all the way out to 300 mil or whatever your point and shoot can go to, zoom it all the way out. Don't use digital zoom on your point and shoots. That's a no-no. No, 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 no. Digital zoom just makes it, just go as far as the lens will go, and that's it. And then you reframe the subject. So you move, or the subject moves, but you both move until you frame in the camera the shot that you're looking for. Fire the shot. What's going to happen is that there's so much distance between you and them, okay? They'll get nice and sharp. They'll be tacked sharp. Everything behind them, everything in front of them, if you got some foreground, should go completely nice, soft, bokeh blur. Just totally blurred out. Nice and soft colors. You're going to see little highlights of light hitting different pieces of it. It's just going to be very soft and very, very nice. And that's the nice thing about racking out your lens and taking a portrait shot. I have seen professional photographers take a 600 millimeter lens and tell a subject to go a half a block away, and then they send the person with a assistant, and they might have a reflector or a flash or something to modify the light, and then they'll shoot that way with a walkie-talkie. They'll tell the subject what they want them to do, and then as they're doing it, they'll fire the shots off. Some of those shots are absolutely gorgeous and absolutely amazing. Now, do you get that with every long end shot? No. I really don't prefer shooting much over 300 millimeter. I like the 70 to 200 is a really good range. Good portrait lenses can range from probably 70 millimeter, 50 millimeters, even a good portrait lens sometimes. But 50 millimeter to about 200, 250, that's about as far as I would say. Anything else, you're going to get weird. It's going to get kind of weird, weirder than me. So keep it, I would keep it fairly nice in between, the 50 to 75 range, maybe up to the 200 to 250 range, and that's about it. But that is a really good shot to try practicing with, because you can really get some interesting shots doing that. So anyway, are we ready for some Photoshop technique wizardry stuff? Let's go do it. So first off, we got this wonderful picture of Tiffany here on the stairs. I think I showed it earlier. This is the portrait mode one. Really neat shot. I'm not going to correct too much, but I'm going to try to correct a few things. I'm going to try to get rid of that shadow, that harsh shadow. I'm going to try to tone it out a little better and get the white balance a little bit better. And then I'm just going to play, and then you guys can listen in while I work on it. So let's get into Photoshop. Here you'll see that we have our subject and our picture. Gotta click back into Photoshop because I always forget that loses focus, and when you're working on a computer, you got to make sure to be focused. So what I'm going to do is actually, I think I changed my mind. I think I know exactly what I want to do. This railing right here is really distracting, so I'm going to do a healing brush. So I'm going to make a copy of the background just so I have a copy. I'm going to take the magic wand. No, I'm not. I'm going to take the spot healing brush, and I'm just going to try to spot heal this out. You'll notice we'll play a couple times, and maybe we'll get it, maybe we won't. Oh, look at that. That big brush did it, kind of. Now I'm going to do this very quickly. Now, if you do this a lot slower, you're going to get rid of these color shifts and tones. They'll go away a little bit more. The more you play with it, the worse it's going to get. So I'm trying not to do too much, but we're going to try to get it to go away. All right, there's a little something here on the stairs. We'll get rid of that. I don't like this faceplate thing. Now, the one neat thing that you could do is you can rotate the brush or grow the brush or shrink the brush to encompass that particular item that you want to get rid of. And that'll give you the best healing brush possible. So I'm going to encompass it. You'll notice I have the circle around it. That's my brush size. I'm going to click once. Bang. And look, it just totally disappeared just like that. And I don't have to mess with it anymore like I did up here with the railing. So let's zoom back out. What else? Is there any other elements that I might want to take out? Maybe not. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. I still don't like the way this railing came out, but I'll hit it one more time here and just see what I get. Sometimes drawing over it multiple times will make it happen. Oh, that's not good. Edit, undo. That was not good. We'll leave it like that for now. So, you know, we're going to clean up different spots and stuff. So we're going to zoom in here, and I can't see my scroll bar. There we go, scroll bar. We're going to zoom in here, and we're going to notice that we got a little bit of red eye because of the wonderful flash that I was using. And I just got to remember where I put the red eye. There it is, red eye correction tool. So what we can do is we can draw from the center of the... Oh, I guess not. It's not like it used to be. So edit, undo. Last version you would draw a circle around it, but this time we're going to do it with a square. So you draw a square around her eye, draw a square around her eye, and you'll notice, boom, her pupils are right back to where they're supposed to be. Pretty and black, kind of like black pearls. Very nice. So we're going to scroll it back here a little bit. Pardon me while I take a sip of something. Getting dry here talking so much. Okay, so we're going to scroll out here and we're going to look at the portrait. We're going to be like, well, I don't know. What do I like? What do I don't like about this? Okay, we fixed the red eye a bit. That looks good. I like the pose. I kind of like... There's so many different shots in here, too. We could do a couple different things. We got to fix the tones a little bit, so why don't we fix the tones right now? So we're going to do a levels. So an adjustment layer. So we go down here to the half moon circle thingy. I know, I'm so technical. Thingy, right? New filler adjustment layer, and we're going to go down here to levels. And we're going to kind of maybe play a little bit here and see what we want to do. I really want to neutralize the color temperature to what I want it to be. So I'm going to click the mid-tone gray point, and we'll see if we can't find a gray spot. So let's try the gray wall. Now the gray wall almost fixed that with one hit. I'm also going to try maybe grabbing the whites of her eyes, because that's really what should be neutral. And, you know, for some reason there's a little bit of color in there, and you try to neutralize. Oh, that came out better. There we go. Well, it's a little off yet. It's a little green. I'm not too happy with that. Let's try her teeth. Let's try the teeth. Not too blue. Let's try... Go back to this gray here. That gray made it too purple. Let's try this gray. Well, that's about as close as we're going to get. So there's a neutral color. It looks like her. Her skin tones look good. They're healthy. They're looking good. Her pupils look good. Her color in her eyes is not too bad. The whites are not too bad. So what I want to do now is I want to set a dark point and a light point. So I'm going to look for the darkest thing on this photo. I'm actually thinking it's got to be your hair right here, but we'll double check, make sure there's nothing else that we can like hit and say that's the black point. Yeah, it's going to be her hair. So let's scroll back into her hair. I know I'm probably making you guys sick with the in and out piece here. So we hit the black point for her hair. Notice our black point. Now the colors are a lot more rich. The contrast is a lot more rich. All right, and then we're going to hit the highlights, which I can tell you right now what the highlights is going to be. Right here on her earring, we have a nice sparkle going. So we're going to hit that, and that's her highlights. All right, so now we have our tonal values nice and broad. It's got good contrast. The levels look good. I like it so far. I might lighten the midtones just a touch. Let's lighten it up just a touch, just to give it just a little something. And then I'm going to bring the dark slider in probably to 3 or 4 or 5, just to increase that contrast, just to bring the jeans. Really, the jeans are what I'm kind of looking at, trying to get a gauge of where my tone values are. The jeans were just way too light in this photo. So I like that. That's pretty good. All right, cool. So let's go back to the layers. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Maybe we're going to crop this. I don't know. What do we want to do with this? Why don't we crop it? We'll crop it. So we'll do a crop. So we grab the crop tool, which is the, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like 2 right angles and a 45-degree angle. The symbol here, it says crop tool, or you can use the C key on the keyboard. Maybe we're going to make it an 8x10. It's going to be 10 inches wide by 8 inches tall. And we're going to grab it right here, and we're going to see what we get. Now, I didn't cut her right at the joint here for the knee, but I did cut her at the foot here. Let's slide it down just a touch. I don't like having it all the way wide. Let's try cutting this a little bit short. That could be a little bit better. Where do I want to go? I think I'm going to go this way. This way looks better, I think. Okay, so we're going to crop this off. I'm just above her knee now. I'm just above her ankle, so hopefully it doesn't look like she's a decapitated paraplegic or something. Oh, I noticed something I did wrong. I cropped it and I caught a corner or something up in the upper left-hand corner here. I'm just going to use the healing brush just to get rid of that real quick. Hang on. So we're going to get here and go whack. And then one more time, whack. There it goes. It goes. All right, so here we go. Now this could actually turn into a nice poster scene or something where we could put a saying over here and we could add some text or something. So, you know, like Levi jeans are my enter favorite. Haha. Now watch, I probably didn't spell it right? Everybody who knows me personally is going, yep, you're right. You probably didn't spell it right, you goof. So we're going to click off and click back on the layer, and we're going to go Control-T for a freeform transformation so we can just resize it accordingly. And we're going to put that right up. And, you know, maybe we want to make some kind of neat text effects. So we're going to go down to the FX button underneath the Layers panel. And, whoops, let's see if I can get it to come back. No, it's not going to do it. Is it? Okay. So I'm going to start a stroke or something. So the stroke is the outline of the font. So you can see as I move it up and down, the font changes a little bit there. I'm going to keep it pretty simple, right around 3. Let's try one more effect, and we'll do a drop shadow. This can get kind of interesting. Now we want to make sure that the light is coming from the right way. Photoshop, this version of Photoshop actually tries to find the global lighting in the picture before it does anything, and it thinks that it's 30 degrees off camera, and it already set my shadow here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit more distant so we can see it clearly, and then I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so it gets a little more fuzzy. I notice that it's hitting someplace here where I don't like, so I'm going to take the move tool and move it to where I want it. And there we go. So there's a couple different things that you can do with Photoshop that can be kind of fun. Oh, that's right. I was going to get rid of the shadow there. Let me try doing that real quick. So we're going to go to the top layer. We're going to go Control-Alt-E to do a clone stamp layer. So it's literally all the edits that we did before. So no matter what we do in the layer now, we now have a final version up top. And I'm going to put my text back up on top so it stays there. So let's get rid of that shadow real quick here. And we're going to take and probably do a clone stamp brush right here over on the toolbar. It's a clone stamp brush. And what you do with this is you hit the Alt key or hold the Alt key and pick an area that you think is the background that you want to use. So I'm thinking right about here. So let's zoom in this area. And you'll notice in newer versions of Photoshop, it'll show you what you're going to paint before you even do it. So we're just going to take and clean that shadow up a little bit. Try not to get in her hair too much. And if we are getting too close to her hair, we just resize the brush and just shrink it down just a little bit. Now you could, to make this, to make this a little better here, you can do a selection around her. That way you don't edit any of the pixels actually in her face here. So there we go. I got rid of that facial shadow a little bit. So why don't we save this one for right now? So we'll go Save As. And we change it to a JPEG, and we hit save. Okay. Okay. Now, if we go back to our original, here's what the original looked like. Here's what our edits look like. So immediately, it might be a little bit different. It might be a little bit nicer. I don't know. What did I do? How much different? Well, it's tighter. All right. So I got rid of the shadow here. Got rid of the hand railing here. Fixed the color tones, made her hair more contrasting, more black, like it's supposed to be, made the highlights more nice. We also made her skin tones and her cheeks and stuff more neutral, and then fixed her pupils. So right here. So I'm going to go back to the original. Here's the original. You can't really see her eyes in this one too much, but the hand railing's gone. The shadow here is gone, and the skin tones are better, and her hair tones are better. Oh, and then I also got rid of this power plug over here. Okay, so there you go. Before, after. Big difference, but not big enough to be like, super surprised, I guess. And that's really the key to photo editing, is you really don't want to go over the top and make something look unnatural. So the second image, I don't have a lot of time to do some of the photo edits I really wanted to do with this one, but I will do some quick photo edits. I'm going to fix the tones of the eyes here because they got red eye. I'm going to fix her skin tones a little bit. We're going to warm it. I think I'm going to make this black and white, and then I'm going to bring out just her eyes. And that's a really nice technique. I really like that technique. So we'll fix the red eye, bring her eyes up on a new layer, fix the color of her eyes, then make the whole picture black and white except for her eyes. I think the other thing I'm going to probably fix is I'm going to take and try to clone stamp this area of skin over here that kind of is distracting, at least to me. So maybe we can do those. We'll do those 3 edits. I got time. All right, let's go do it. So there's our plan. We're going to fix the eyes. We're going to fix the skin tones, and we're going to fix that, whatever that is, that little bit of skin slice there. All right, so let's go over into Photoshop. If it'll switch for me here. There we go. All right, there's our picture, right? So first few edits. Let's do it real quick here. We're going to do the red eye, which is under the healing tools, the J command. So if you click and hold, you can find the red eye tool. And all you do with red eye is you just highlight the pupils by drawing a square around them, like so. And you'll notice, boom, they're fixed, just like that. I'm going to do that right eye again, just to make sure that I got it. All right, cool. So bang, they're fixed. Okay, nice dark pupils like they're supposed to be in a portrait. Very nice. Notice we got a little twinkle in her eye too. That's always key for a portrait too, because I'm sorry, if you're missing a twinkle in the eye on any portrait, it's not much of a portrait because it doesn't look right. It doesn't look natural, because even just naturally looking at people, unless you have such a soft light or it's really that dark, typically speaking, when you hit somebody with light, their eyes twinkle just a little bit. It's just the way it is. The eyes are wet, they're round, you're gonna get something out of it. And that's really a natural thing, I guess, or a physics thing. Okay, moving on real quick. Let's see here. What are we gonna do? We're gonna do her eyes. Okay, first off, I'm gonna make the I'm gonna take the photo, I'm gonna make it all black and white real quick. So let's do a black and white portion to this. And we're gonna do, I don't know, we're gonna pick a different default. I'm not even gonna go high end here. I'm just gonna see what we got here. Let's see, lighter. Oh, that ain't bad. Let's try red filters. Ew, no, that's too much. How about a yellow filter? That's still too much. Let's try a blue filter. That's ugly. Green, high contrast. I think we're gonna go with just, you know, that actually doesn't work too bad. The maximum white. And then what we'll do is, let's go back out here and just zoom out so we see it. That's not too bad. Let's tone it down just a touch here. I got to figure out what colors I want to tone down. Just a touch. Probably the reds, the yellows, not so much. There we go. Beautiful. All right. Now, this is how simple this is. We made a black and white adjustment layer. We made the tonal edits the way we wanted it, right? Now all we got to do is take the mask area here. So we click on the mask here, which is the portion on the right of your layer here. So you got the adjustment here, you got the mask here. So we click on the mask, we go grab ourselves a black brush. So I'm going to set the color, I'm going to go grab a brush, I'm going to go zoom into the eye because we want to be neat about this, and we're going to just get just enough brush just to draw or paint back in the eye color, okay? And without getting on the skin too much, because you really don't want the skin, you want just the eye color. Now, let's see what we do here. Whoops, I went a little too far, I'm sure. Yeah, I did. See how I got the little of the skin here and part of the red there? Yeah, that's not good. So all you got to do, just to take that out, is flip back to white and repaint the areas that you don't want part of that photo edit. So it makes it really nice. So you just paint in black and white. Oh, went too much again. Let's do this here again. And just paint over it a little bit here and a little bit there. Oh, I did the skin again. One more time. Recorrect it. The whole idea behind photo edits is making them look as natural as possible. So there's your eyes in a black and white scenario. I don't like the eyes being the way they are. I want to make her a blue-eyed bunny. So let's take and do a, whoops. First off, we want to select our mask here. So we hold the control key, hit the select, notice that it draws the ants around it. All right, now what we're going to do is do an adjustment layer. By selecting the ants first and then doing the adjustment layer, it automatically builds you your next layer's mask. So let's do a hue and saturation. I'm going to shift the color one way or the other. I'm not sure which way. Oh, the mask is inverted again. Oh, that really bites. Okay, so let's hit mask, and I can't do it that way. So go back to layers, and I'm going to click on the mask and go Control-I to invert it. Now come back here, saturate it up. There's my blue-eyed babe. I love it. Green. What color do you want to be today? Notice you can just take and shift it. You want red? There you go. Purplish. And then back to blue. I'm going to pick a blue color here. And the whole thing with blue is it's not really blue. I've never seen anybody, unless they got contacts, have blue eyes. But we're going to make it a soft blue. We're going to desaturate it just a touch. Just so it's like electric-y, but it stands out, but it's not huge. So it's not going to be way up here. It's going to be way about there-ish. Yeah, I like it, about -10. So you can click in the box here and use the scroll on the mouse to go up and down to change your numbers. I love doing that. That's a great way to dial in the exact color or whatever you want. So going back to the hue and saturation here, come back out here. I know you can't add it directly. I just wanted to get my mouse back out there. So here's Tiffany with the blue eyes. Maybe they need to be a little bit brighter. Let's go maybe lighten them up just a touch and make them a little more saturated. Maybe not too much. Let's see which way. Maybe darker. I don't know. Let's really make them stand out. We'll oversaturate them here a little bit. That'll work. Somewhere around 10. Yeah, that'll work. All right, cool. So now we have our blue-eyed. You know, you could even do this with the lips, too. You could do another adjustment layer here. Let's see if I can do it real quick. We're going to do a hue and saturation, and we're going to come in here, and what we're going to do is... Oh, crud. Because I didn't start with it, I'd have to go back and do masking. So, all right, so we got another hue and saturation. Let's do the black and white. We're going to do the black and white mask and get rid of the lips here. Whoops, wrong color. Make it black. Bring back her color in her lips. I'm going to do this very quickly, so she might look like a clown here in a minute. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Tiff. Okay, there we go. So we're going to clean up this mask just a little bit so it shapes up the lips a little bit. The funny thing about color and about doing masks and stuff, you can shape up things and you didn't even know you could shape. You know, like cleaning up where the lip... Whoops. See, I shaped that up bad. All right, put a little bit more color back here, just a little bit. All right, right there. All right, great. So now we can do and come up here and do that same hue and saturation, but we're going to oversaturate it. And we're going to figure out where we want to be here. And we want to be right there, I think. And we want to darken it up. Not the whole picture, but the lips. And we'll fix that in just a second. So there we go. That's about the color of the lips I want. All right, great. And then we're going to come back here to the wonderful Control-I. And now we're just going to paint with white and bring those lips back in saturated. So it's like we're putting on a lip gloss of some sort or lipstick. So let's finish this up real quick and we'll save it. Yeah, I didn't do a good job of painting that, but that's okay. We're out of time. So file save. And as a JPEG, save. Okay. And we go back to the original one. There's the original. Here's now the edit. Going back to the original one more time. And going back to the edit. Change the eye color, fix the red eye. Made it black and white, brought back some color. That's basically what we did. So going back to me. Anyway, this is the Digital Babble. I'm Flipper. I'm on every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. here on fingerlikes1.com. Hope you tune into the other shows as well. There's a ton of shows out there. I think Chewed Gum is coming up next. Before me was Lake to Lake Girls. They're really awesome too. So check it out and check me out. Go check me out on Facebook. It's The Digital Babble at Facebook or on Facebook. If you want to give me an email with your photos, if you want to send in photos for photo editing, if you want me to cover a particular topic, if you just want to comment on the show, please send me an email at thedigitalbabble@gmail.com. And I think that's it for the show this week. I will catch you on the flip side.
A Flipside Studio production. It's the Digital Babble. Tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on fingerlinks1.com. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter.